Okay, this is a reaction audio to a video called Let's Go Whaling, Tricks for Monetizing Mobile Game Players with Free to Play. This is a video on YouTube, and this is kind of inspired by the fact that a mobile game called Diablo Immortal was released recently, utilizing most of the techniques referenced in this video. So this is just a reaction to it. So here we go.
Hello, I'm here to talk about monetization. It's Let's Go Whaling. It is about a summary of a huge bunch of behavioral psychology. So the tricks on how to monetize a game well. Some of you will probably be slightly shocked by all the tricks I have listed here, but I'll leave the morality of it out of the talk. We can discuss it if we have time later.
There, first pause. Now, right off the bat, we're obviously not headed into good territory. If you have to preface your speech with, and we'll deal with the morality of it if we have time later, that's never a good sign.
I agree. So when somebody comes up with that, immediately my radar goes off. No, we're not going to skip the morality part of it.
Absolutely. So, yeah, that's right off the bat. We know where we're headed.
So, let's dive right in. First off,
let's be immoral
Wall
together.
Street trader and an oil sheikh got into a fight. Who won? You guys did. This is to remind you that...
Okay, so he's showing a graphic, a meme, I suppose, of two, like, wealthy sheiks, I guess. And they're saying, what if one of these Wall Street traders got into a fight? Oh, sorry, what if a Wall Street trader got into a fight with an oil sheik, right? Who won the game company? I.e., as long as they are fighting, the game company's making money, right? If they're fighting in the game, that is. This is in the context of a video game, of course.
Yeah, if they're fighting each other in the game.
In a video game.
Who wins?
The game company wins. The game company wins, right, is what they're saying, right? Yeah. And then they're right? If they're monetizing your battle, yeah. So yeah. Okay, let's see what they say.
A lot of the spend comes from the high paying guys, the whales, and the very best way to get these guys to spend is to get two rich competitive guys to fight each other and tell them, I'll give you a slight upside if you pay me. Next off, to remind you that the best way to make sure of both your retention and your monetization is to make sure you have enough of an in-game economy in there. The 1,000 up there is actually clearly lowballing it. Top grossing games have in-game economies worth tens of thousands. That's how you can keep people in there. They have lots of things to do.
Can you stop that there?
Yeah.
What does he mean by an in-game economy?
Okay, well, what they'll do is they'll say, okay, in this video game, you need to collect flowers, right? Mm-hmm. If you want to do whatever, do X. Yeah. But to collect flowers, you have to spend, some amount of time doing it that's not reasonable, of course, right? And they know that. They'll set it to something ridiculous. And then they'll say, well, if you pay us, we'll accelerate it with these magic gems or some...
Okay, so he's talking about the paywalls.
Yes, they create an economy, they create something you want, and then they monetize it within the game structure.
Okay. I just wanted to know what that term meant.
And I think what he's really talking about is, in this case, what he's talking about is what the total top end that someone could spend on the game is. Yeah. And he's saying create an economy that doesn't tap out, say, when you spent 200. Yeah. Make it as ongoing as you possibly can, so that there's never an end to spending. Right. You know what I mean? Okay. Don't let there. And this is the problem I have with this whole thing that they do is it's all carrot on a stick, where you never get the carrot. So it's this endless lack of satisfaction.
Also, correct me if I'm wrong. In a game, it's all imaginary.
Yes.
I mean, you're not actually buying anything substantial that you can...
Buying electrons, I guess.
Do anything with later.
No.
You're just basically paying them money.
You're just giving them money. I mean, yeah.
You might as well just take it out of your pocket and give it to them.
You might as well light it on fire, yeah.
Okay. All right.
To upgrade, to progress along, and that's how you can make them spend a lot as well, since you can, for instance, give a huge discount on something. This stuff is worth 150 euros, but now I'll give it to you for 5. If your whole in-game economy is worth less than 150, you cannot do that, of course. So now a few of these like frameworks on how to think of stuff. I've seen suggestions to model what you sell according to Bartle types. I assume you're all familiar with Bartle types. The achievers want to progress in the game, the socialize.
So what he's talking about when he says Bartle types is he means it's basically a way of trying to sort of, in a way, stereotype or put in a box the different type, or classify, I guess, the different types of players in a video game, because people play games for different reasons, right? And so they've got them classified to achievers, people who like a sense of progress, right? And they say, oh, people like that. And then they go, oh, how do we take that away from them and then charge them for it, right? And then they have socializers, right? People who are playing it for the social aspect of it. They have what they call, really these are just bullies, right? But they call them competitive people who enjoy a competitive advantage. Or killers is their nickname. But really these are people, they're not, like, you don't think of it as competitive advantage like, you know, two really close athletes gutting it out. They mean just, I'm so much better than you that I can just like a lion versus a lamb, you know? It's people that enjoy just...
So they're predators.
Yeah, it's really bullying. It's predatory. It's not, there's no like fair play. It's not, you know, a competitive advantage is a very nice way of calling it. Yeah. Anyway. And then they have explorers, people who just like to just experience the game, right? So they like them what else is there? What's over that next hill? That kind of thing.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Want to speak to other people. The killers just want to compete and kill each other, and the explorers are the guys who are after stories and experiences. So this is from Will Luton's suggestion to you sell convenience to the achievers, which really means faster progress, customization to socializers, hats and stuff, competitive advantage, that is pay to win for the killers, and content for explorers.
So for killers, now, you pay to have an extra advantage.
Convenience up there.
Yeah, for the killers, you pay to be a bully, essentially, to have an unfair advantage that you didn't really...
But all these advantages they're saying for each of the categories you pay for.
Yeah, of course. This is all paying, right? Mm-hmm. You find out what they like, and then you sort of... You
charge them for it.
Yeah, you charge them for it. Yeah. But part of the problem with doing that is that it takes away... They have to take it away from you before they can give it back to you and charge you for it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's the part I don't like.
So. Well, also what it doesn't take into account is your financial condition. Because if you're an oil sheik, you can probably spend $100,000 in this game and be quite happy and not even notice it.
Well, of course.
Whereas if you're a normal person, $100,000, you're pretty well...
Destroyed forever. Yes,
yeah, economically destroyed.
And these guys are happy to do that because the thing is, all these things that work on rich people or whatever will work on anybody else too, who doesn't have the money but will still spend it anyway.
These are the same type of people that have these phone scams where they'll bilk some old age pensioner out of all their savings, just so and how they hook them in is they know these people are lonely, so
they take advantage of it.
They take advantage of them.
No, I mean it's literally
the same morality or mentality.
It's like and what kills me is when like this. You actually learn a lot about yourself from this. It's just that imagine if we could have a conference like this, knowing this same stuff, except so how do we use these facts to make things better, not worse? They just want to make things worse, and they appeal to the lowest form of each of these things. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the thing, right?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the information. It's the way it's being used.
Yeah, they're turning each of these people into cheaters.
Yeah.
And that's not a good thing. But anyway,
or progress is that most of your sales will be here. Customization, hats and stuff, they're nice, but you'll have a single-digit percentage of your income coming from that if you do both that and progress. Competitive advantage is good, but you can go overboard with it and have an unbalanced game, which is, if it's too clearly pay to win, people will stop playing.
See, this is another thing that pisses me off. Too clearly pay to win.
Yes.
So we're happy if it's murkily pay. It's still pay to win. It's just we're only content with the part where it's still doing you wrong, but you're not noticing. Oh, that's a healthy place to be.
We're putting morality aside here, and he certainly is doing it.
I know, exactly. I mean, that's not a healthy place to be. Jesus Christ.
And content, it takes a lot of resources and time to do that. Selling content is very expensive. Hardly any team can keep up producing content in the at the pace needed. This one I like a bit better. Hook Habit Hobby. This is a model from Dimitri Dravano of Flare Games. It's a model for how people progress in a game. The hook is what gets you into the game to try out a free-to-play game. Then you build it into a habit that you play multiple sessions every day. And then at the end, it's the hobby phase where people see it as one of their main hobbies, and they put lots of time and resources into it. Now, if we look at this from a monetization perspective, the hook is where you put up an icebreaker. You want to give a really, really good deal, something that's...
And now this is just like any drug dealer's 101, basically. Like any street dealer goes, hey, want a free one?
First one's free.
Yeah, that's all this is. I mean, again, these guys are openly, brazenly, representing those kinds of people basically, and those kinds of thoughts, and just that's fine, that's good for society, we don't care.
No-brainer. You would be crazy to turn it down as a player. The reason to give a really good deal up front is by making people spend up front, they are also emotionally committing to your game, their retention will go up. And the first spend is it breaks the ice, then they think of themselves as spenders in the game. It's okay for me to spend in the game. Lots of people otherwise have this wall up, I will never pay for a mobile game. So you need to break the wall first. The habit is like the main meat of the game. This is where you sell the faster progress, as we just discussed. And the hobby is for the guys who have already maxed out. They're the guys who have all of their Clash of Clans building at the max level. They are already there. So you can no longer sell progress to them, you have to sell consumables. This is where you're selling the faster healing times or faster build times of armies. This is also where you get basically unlimited upper spend. There's no limit to how much you can spend in, for instance, Clash of Clans. So let's go down into some of these more tricks. Gotchas. Who hasn't heard of gotchas? Excellent. Most of you have. So gotchas, they're named after gachapon, these Japanese machines, which are sort of slot machines that give you collectible stuff. On random, you get collectible stuff. But it's really the same mechanic that we have had in Western markets for collectible playing cards. Like,
see, this stuff is, sinister. It's smart in a way, but it's really awful. They say, okay, we'll create a bunch of cards, and they're collectible, right? But you want to personalize your collection, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm going to collect this type of collection, or I want these cards, right?
Yeah.
Well, they say, okay, you want those cards. Well, you can't buy those cards. All you can do is buy a chance to get those cards, right?
Yeah.
So now they've turned what should be a one-time purchase into whatever the probability is that you will eventually land on that card out of however many cards are in a pack. You know what I mean?
Right.
So now they've turned what should be a one-time purchase into like a 50 or 20. How many packs would you have to buy until 1 out of 10 was the one you want? You know what I mean?
Okay.
You see but it's so awful that they do that.
Yeah.
God. And anyway, so but it's just a trick. So you can't even get the thing you want, but they get you to want a specific thing. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
Magic the Gathering for ages. You cannot, no matter how much you spend, you cannot directly get the card you want. You have to over and over again pay to get a bunch of random cards and hope that the thing you wanted is in there. Or then you like trade them somehow if there's what wasn't what you hoped for. These are great for again both monetization and retention because people like the lottery part of it. If you want to look up Skinner box to know why, it's really a lot more exciting, and you get more content because people cannot immediately progress to the stuff they want. They have to keep trying a few times, so it really takes like 5 times as long to get the collection that they need compared to just progressing and collecting soft currency and buying it straight off. Okay, then think about how you want to get to your millions. Do you go the king route of having a huge volume of players and a fairly modest lifetime value for each spender? Or do you go the machine zone route of having a very hardcore game that like 95% of the population is going to look like, what is that? But the 5% that actually do play it, they will spend a lot. Just know where you stand on this. Hot state. There's an excellent book about behavioral psychology called...
So that's interesting. He doesn't actually, and this is something I'd like to know, he doesn't say which model makes more money. The King model, which sort of is more customer friendly, right?
Yeah.
Where you pay an upfront fee and you get the whole experience, right?
Yeah.
And you sell that at a reasonable price to a lot of people.
Yes.
Or you sell a overly priced thing to a few people, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And he goes, just know which way you stand on that. But he doesn't say which one is better. I have this sneaking suspicion that you would make more money in the King route than you would the other route.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
But so then it makes the next question is, well, then why do they all go the King route? And he never quite goes into that. And I think that's because they're getting into, it's because they don't care about money. This is about social engineering.
Yeah. Yeah. You think there's something behind all this that's beyond? Yeah. Okay.
Thinking fast and slow. This is the fast thinking. I'm telling you that the fast thinking mode is what you want. The slow thinking is your analytical brain. What's 12 times 47? I'm sure all of you can answer that, but you have to start your actual thinking brain to do that. Now, if I say, complete the sentence, bread and everyone's thought, butter. So that's the fast thinking. Our brain works in these two modes, and starting the analytical part of your brain is too much to ask for a spend. How it applies to games is make stuff immediately useful, immediate gratification. If you have a level-based game and you sell some boosters up front, for instance, a coin doubler or some other stuff that will help you, people will have to analyze and think it through. These things are good for me. These will help me progress before they do it. And they won't do that. If, on the other hand, you do like, for instance, in this temple run, once your game is over, save me, I have a few seconds to spend hard currency and I get to continue. Or similar in Candy Crush Saga, at the very moment that I've lost, I can see I just played a bit more, I can pass it. Make it immediately useful. Loss aversion. This is...
So they're talking about using time crunches to force you to pay, right? Where it's like, they say, basically they're saying, you wouldn't buy this if you had time to consider it.
Yeah.
So offered it to them
Yeah.
in a moment when they feel a pressure to decide, so they don't have time to think about it, and they're more likely to go with it.
Yeah. Yes, that's the same thing they used to do at the in the carnival,
Oh, okay.
where people you'd be passing the booths with your girlfriend. Oh, I wouldn't mind. Oh, come on, buddy, you spent some money in. Yeah, and there's your girlfriend there. She wants that, thing. Yeah, or her boyfriend or whatever. Yeah, but yeah.
People are much more attached to the stuff they have than an equal amount of things that they can gain, which means that if I give you an offer, I'll flip a coin. If it's tails, I'll take 100 euros from you. If it's heads, I'll give you 120 euros. Who would take the bet? No one. No. We need more gain to offset the loss is felt more strongly. We need like 200 against 100 loss, 200 gain against 100 loss, then we'll take the deal. In games, you can apply this by giving people stuff that feels is in their pocket, and then threaten to take it away unless they pay up. This is, lots of level-based games do this. There are collectibles in things like Puzzle and Dragons. You collect along the way. If you didn't finish the level, they'll take it from you. Now, pay to continue a bit. Offers and scarcity plays into the loss aversion. If there are rare cards up here, and you see the goblin going with his clocks, tick-tock, I'll take it away from you, I'll take it away from you. They are scarce, they go away. This is a brilliant way to get more.
See, again, this is an artificial way of inflating value of something that doesn't have value, really, right?
Yeah.
And and also they've noticed that like I value like if you offer me the potential for something, it doesn't matter how big it is.
Yep.
What I actually feel I own is more valuable to me. So what they try to do is get you to feel like you own something, right? But then you really don't, right? Because if they can take it away, then you never owned it, right?
Right.
But they give you this sense like, oh, you earned this.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, you got to pay $17.99.
Or we take it away, yeah.
Or we take it away. And now you feel like, well, wait, that's mine, and you're taking my stuff away. But it was never yours. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, the fact that we're dealing with entirely imaginary stuff to begin with, really...
Right, and it really was never yours. Yeah.
It never will be.
So there you go. But, I mean, that's... But, and again, this... Well, anyway.
People to spend more. Subscription. Does anyone recognize the guy?
God, I hate subscription.
He's the builder from Clash of Clans. The point of this is the builder has a very specific way of working. If you spend your hard currency on this guy, you will only get the benefit from him if you then keep coming back to the game very often. So it drives both retention and monetization.
You see, and that's the other thing I hate that they do. Artificial retention, where they don't say, well, you came back because we're offering you something, right?
Yeah.
They go, oh, you can buy this guy and he'll help you. But he'll only help you if you log in once a day, every day for the next month.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So what they've really done is just, you've paid them to now be stuck there longer. And they want your eyes there more, because that's more time that you're amongst all their other potential offers. You know what I mean? Gosh.
Build stuff that makes people come back to your game a lot in order to get the value out of that. The IKEA effect. This is to say, stuff that we put work into, we value more highly.
This is interesting.
You know, IKEA really sells you cardboard stuff. It's shit. But you value it still somehow slightly higher because you actually built it yourselves. The model over here is from a psychology book called Hooked, How to Build Hooking Products.
I just want to shout out to all you psychologists and psychiatrists that have wasted your fucking time coming up with this horse shit and then using it against us. Thanks a lot for that, by the way.
This is how we build habits. There's a trigger to remind us to do something, then we go do an action, we get the variable reward, just like the gachas, we get the lottery ticket, and then to really hook it down, we need to ask people to do something for us, do a little bit of work, because then they become emotionally attached to that. And then we set up the next trigger, either internal or external. External trigger means really a notification in our case. Internal that people have in their minds that, you know, I started building that tower or I planted pumpkins, that means I need to come back in 8 hours. So that's the trigger. And then we go round and round and we have the habit. Anchoring is fun. Anchoring means that when we don't know the price of stuff, the first price we hear suggested for it becomes our anchor, and then we compare everything to that. For instance, an iconic example, black pearls. Black pearls, when they first came on the market, no one wanted them because they're dull and black and don't look very nice. The guy who had them told his summer trainee or whatnot to just dump the price of them and get rid of them. The summer trainee understood it wrong and actually hiked the price by 50% or 100%. And then suddenly they became these objects of desire. Even more special, I think, is this. If I ask all of you to write down the last 2 digits of your social security number, and then I have an auction like imagine this is a fancy bottle of wine, and you get to bid on auction here. The people like me, my last 2 digits in my social security number are 99. I'd bid a higher price on this than the guys who have like 10 or 05. Just because I wrote down a high number on a paper will anchor my thinking on what goes next. So how to use this in a game? Some games, immediately when you're in the tutorial, they suggest to you, you should buy this good IAP for 50 euros or something like that. I go like, oh, that's expensive, I'll never do that. Of course, no. and I expect them to say no. Then again, I come back like a few sessions later and suggest they buy it for 15. And I'll say, that's a good value, because my anchor was at 50.
I see what he's saying.
Yeah, I get it.
That's so sneaky.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. If you're not capable of critical thinking, and we know a certain percentage of the population isn't, and I think they're the same ones that are in that highly suggestible hypnosis category, then they're definitely at risk.
But I'm just thinking, I mean, imagine you're, I'm just trying to think how it plays out in the real world, though. You're a person, you sit down, say, to negotiate a car. You recognize the salesman is using this technique. Yeah. But what do you do in that situation? I mean, are you supposed to call him out on it? Do you say, but what, I mean, let's play that through. How will he respond to that? How
there was a sales course that actually I studied that did exactly that. The idea being is somebody has to be a loser in this, and it's going to be the customer, not the salesperson. And there was a whole system that they had. And when I saw it being used on me, I actually told it made them very unhappy. But I said, I know what you're doing. I've taken that course. Yeah. I know what you're doing. I can predict what you're going to say next.
Well, okay. Well, that's something I've heard, that the power of predictiveness actually works. Like someone will keep trying to con you till you predict or like verbalize their con to them, and all of a sudden they go, okay. But isn't it weird how they'll keep it up as long as they think you don't know better, until you do know better. So there is a certain power in predicting, predictive, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, okay. But I agree, like this, like anchoring. But I see how you say, he says, well, hey, buy this for $50, right? And you say, well, that's not worth it. And then later he says, oh, it's on sale for $15.
What I liked in sales courses was the old Xerox sales course, because it was you as a sales rep become your customer's representative to your company. Yeah. You come back to them and say, my customers need this. How can we help them? Yeah. So you actually become a helper. And in that way, there's a
synergy.
A synergy there, and a symbiotic relationship that actually works.
Right. And it's beneficial to both parties.
It's not one way, it's beneficial to both parties.
It's a two-way street, yeah. Well, these are all ways of...
Sure, because the other side of the coin is, if I milk my customers dry and they have no more money, I have no more customers.
You're right, yeah.
Social proof. So this is, we are herd animals, we tend to do what all the others do. You all sit quiet listening to me, because that's what all of the other guys do here. So, especially when people are similar to us. This means that you should have, the socially accepted way of behaving in your game should be paying. You want to tell people, for instance, when a clan member of theirs spend IAP money, you want the whole clan to know, because then that becomes the socially acceptable way of behaving. You absolutely do not want to tell them that the majority of people in your game never spend money. That's poison. Never tell them that. Availability means that the stuff we hear a lot about is the stuff we judge as likely to happen. This, for instance, can tie into gachas. If there are rare gachas, not every player will see them every session. That's like the definition of rare. Which means that they will think that it's not likely to happen that they get one of those, which means that you should tell them about it, which means every time a clan member gets one of the rare things, you should broadcast it to all of the others, like your friend got this rare or legendary thing. Then they will judge it more likely.
You see, again, this is appealing to the lowest part of humans' proclivity, right? Like, yes, people have a tendency to be a little bit maybe like, what's the guy got out on his side of the fence? You know what I mean? Like, they look over and the grass is greener, but you don't go in and try to amplify and increase that. You're supposed to try and counter that, right? Like,
Well, if you go back to the different categories of the people that play the game, the socializers would hear that as, as a social, oh, yeah, my buddy got that, oh, that's great, maybe I can get it too. The competitive guys would go, well, damn, but if he's got that, I've got to get something at least equally as good, if not better, and so forth.
And okay, so just because people have that proclivity, there's probably a good reason for it, right?
No, you used the right word, amplify. Right. You're trying to amplify their
you're
lower,
taking something that might, you're lower, their lower,
instincts.
they're lower instincts. And I don't think that's healthy. In every one of these examples, they're catering to the lower side of the human self, because there's probably the fact that we do that. There's probably a positive that comes out of that if it's done in a certain. Because it's like anything, you can take. That's the other thing I realize is they take what is naturally there
and unbalance it.
Right? And then it becomes a problem.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Yeah, okay.
The right amount of choice. This is a famous jam experiment. They put up a stall in a supermarket with 20 different jams. Have a taste here. Then you have a discount. Go buy some. And then they had a control group who had only 5 jams to taste. Now, for the one with 20, a lot of people stopped by and tasted the jams. But for the one with 6, a lot more people bought. Because they know that that's the best one. That's the one I want. If there are 20, there's too much choice. We just get anxious. We choose nothing. There's a bunch of data on this, that whales take longer time to convert. This is just another reminder for you to have content for a bloody long time. The core loop goes through the store. Have an example, hill climb racing, because it's so fantastically minimal and nice. You do your action, your in-game, your core game there, and you go straight into the meta game where you do the upgrades, and then back there. So the loop always goes through the meta stage where your store, where you're spending money.
There they're just saying that. I mean, they do that in stores, where all the impulse buys you have to walk through, or you can't exit the theater without going through the gift shop, that kind of thing. Yeah, they do that obviously, where they'll send you every time you finish a level, they send you right to the store. You know? Yeah. That one's pretty. That one I guess doesn't bother me as much, only because you can see that one pretty. You know what I mean? Like, that's more. It's not. Yeah. It's not as hidden. Yeah. But
labeling technique, I haven't seen this actually done in a game, but it's interesting. It should work. If we tell people they are a certain way, if we compliment them on being nice, good citizens, they are more likely to behave as nice, good citizens. So you should actually tell your players that they are generous individuals who have a taste for good art and want to support their game developers by paying you and buying IAPs. Related to that, also telling people the reason to do something makes them much more likely to actually follow through and do that. Spend because reasons. The reasons don't even have to be that good in order for this to work. And last, here are remember, there are 4 ways of progressing in game.
Notice how he says work. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, this is the language of a con artist. Yeah, you know what I mean? This isn't the language of someone who has anything good. I mean, this is all about cheating. This is about stealing. This is about getting something for nothing. Yeah. This is about parasiting off of things.
Well, I'm sure they see it as work, but...
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, and don't... I don't begrudge them in the sense that, you're very clever in your little sandbox, what you've come up with, but it's just what you still vastly miss the point, you know what I mean? And all of this completely overlooks the fallout. Like, none of this talks about, all they talk about is the gold you're going to get. Imagine the money, the pile of money. Yeah. Completely overlooking the wasteland you're going to leave in your wake. You know what I mean? The destroyed lives, the emptied bank accounts. And it's not even healthy to, frankly, to have people think about how sinful, even, I don't even know a better word for it, it would be to spend $40,000 on Diablo so that you could beat Joe Blow across the ocean or wherever at fucking Ablo. Like, so what did you do with your 40 grand? Oh, I put it into nothing. Like, abso-fucking-lutely nothing.
Well, since people don't like to admit they're wrong, they'd probably say, "Oh, morality is just a social construct, so that's my truth."
Yeah, okay. Well, my truth is I identify as someone that has everything in the world. So cough it up. I want all your stuff. I identify as that person. Sorry. Yeah.
Games in general. You can have a skill-based game, you can have a luck-based game, you can have a game where you just progress by grinding, or you can pay to progress. Make sure that your games aren't too skill-based. I made that mistake myself. A too skill-based game, you don't get people to pay you because there's no reason to. So make sure grinding and paying are legitimate versions of progressing in the game. Thank thank you. That's it. A few questions.
Well, again, what he really means is
that's a funny way of putting it.
What he means is make legitimate, legitimate progress
I
possible.
just like the way he uses words that I would not normally
associate with such a con artist and a cheater. Anyway, that's the end of that video. But that really sums up. I mean, this is like someone else, or this isn't my term, but someone coined this the toolkit of evil. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, it's exactly what this is. It's,
Well, I mean, we could this same video could be used to inoculate yourself against subliminal manipulation. You study this, and then you compare it to the games you're playing and go, oh, I see what they're doing here, I see what they're doing there, I see what they're doing there. And then you would start to realize, at least, you would be conscious that you were being built. You might still do it because maybe you're being driven by a need to socialize with the people on the game, or you're one of these guys who has to kill everybody else to succeed, and those drives are stronger than your sense of I'm being built and I can't afford this.
Well, another thing I think we're overlooking here is think of how profoundly interesting this is, what this is teaching about. Like, think about it. If you identify yourself as hey, I'm someone who is a social blah blah blah, and I like. What that means that scales up to anything in real life. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's what scares me about this stuff, is that this is like a precursor to apply. I mean, that applies to, and again, something as profound as, geez, you could teach someone about themselves and they could really learn something. Like, I'm this kind of a person from that. Yeah. But instead they just use it as a,
I think what you're hinting around at is that you see that this is actually just a test platform for
this is a microcosm.
Social engineering.
For a bigger thing. You're right. Yeah.
There's something behind this. It isn't just about games and making money. There's something going on behind this. I have a couple of questions for you. Whales equal rich players? Is that because he keeps talking about whales?
Yeah. When he says whales, he just means the people that, exactly, that you can feed off of and feed off of and feed off of.
Because, I mean, here's the way this strikes me, okay? This guy, whether he is an actual sociopath, he is giving a sociopathic discourse. In other words, shut off your morality. Can you do that? Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
That's what sociopaths do. I'm not talking about psychotics who can't turn it on. I'm talking about, sociopaths who can switch it on and switch it off.
Right.
And at the moment, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. At worst, he's a sociopath who says, okay, switch off your morality. Okay, everybody's got their switched off. Yeah. You switch off your conscience. Now, here we go. Mm-hmm. You and I have talked about and studied about alchemy before. What I liked about alchemy is that this couldn't have happened under alchemical rules, because alchemy combined science, which is this is pure science, with morality.
Yeah.
And philosophy. And he's not doing that. He's simply taking the pure science and saying, do what you will with it. That's the whole of the law.
Yeah.
Imagine how much time is misspent creating a game like this.
Exactly. That's the thing I was thinking. Like, if your goal is to create something,
how much time they had to? You mentioned this before. Oh, okay, no, that's not going to work. He has to pay. No, fix that. Okay, no, here he's not paying here. Look, fix that. My God, it must have taken them forever to do this.
That's what I'm saying. Because that's what I was saying. It's a small phone game, but it had the same development cycle as a complete game. And I was like, well, why? It's because I bet you every time they accidentally, whoops, I made a game that's satisfying and functional and fun. Yeah. Oh, that's the mistake. Go back. We got to rethink it. How can it not be? How can it be corrupted? You know what I mean? You imagine that you're in this day and night. You're in this team of people, and you do it. You actually get it right, and they go, no. Go back to the drawing board. We have to figure out a way to corrupt that. Like, that's not monetized. People are just actually getting joy out of that, and we can't have that. You know what I mean?
See, I see this as a trickle-down effect from something even higher, where they're at some level. There's some group that have some direct control or indirect control over our society who are thinking psychotically, and that kind of psychosis is trickling downhill into the regular society. And society is not bulletproof. Society will collapse under this.
Yes, and that's the other thing I'm saying, that they do this. That's the fallout of this. Even if they only contained it to video games. Mm-hmm. You're training people, right? Yeah. To become like these, like to be the worst of themselves. You know what I mean? Yeah. At the very least, sociopaths, and to basically, think about it. What kind of person are you where you lose and you don't want to legitimately defeat your opponent, you cheat to defeat your opponent. You know what I mean? Like,
I have more money than you, so I can.
So I can beat you. Yeah. Like you're playing to the lowest part of someone, right?
Exactly.
Like those aren't people that you want. And so if you spend, and then they know these people are habituating themselves into this behavior by spending unbelievable amounts of time.
Hobby.
Yeah, it's becoming a hobby. So if you spend all your time, how did you get to be the best? Oh, I cheated. You know,
they won't see it.
How'd you get to the end of the game? Oh, I cheated. You know, blah blah blah. It's like I'm saying. It's not only are they making money, but it's corrupting and damaging and.
I suppose in a way, if you already want to feel yourself an elite, this way it proves your privilege. Well, see, I'm privileged. I can do this. Yeah. That's what. What was that guy Crowley kept saying? Do what thou wilt is the whole of the law. That's really what he was talking about.
Yeah, I know. It's not healthy. It's not good.
Anyway, well, that was interesting. Yeah. But as I said, you could use this very same video to inoculate yourself against this.
Yeah, I agree. Well, that was good. Okay, till the next one.
Yep.